I'm Nina van Tilburg for Biznews. A white paper on the jobs of tomorrow by the World Economic Forum has examined the potential impact of large language models on jobs and how we work. It says the integration of LLMs and artificial intelligence, or AI, will present a paradigm shift with information by extension of how we work. It could lead to significant productivity gains and creation of new jobs. That's the good thing about it. But what many people are concerned about is the risk of potential job displacement, and that it could exacerbate socioeconomic disparities, which is of particular concern to us in South Africa. Well, with me to unpack that is Anne Rutledge. She is the Executive Director, Talent Solutions at Resourgenix. Very topical that we're speaking today. And hi, how are you?
Amanda, thank you for having me back again. And yes, it's I think it's a topic that everybody's talking about at the moment. I think you read about it everywhere that you turn. Having business conversations with different companies and companies and things like that. It's definitely a topic that is on everybody's minds. So very excited to talk about it and just giving some insights into how we've experienced it as well.
Yeah, well, how have you experienced? How are people worried?
I think from most of the workforce, it is a concern of, what does this mean for us? How do we embrace it? How do we use it? But there's also the other element of it that it has helped to increase productivity to people who are wanting to upskill themselves into different products, into different technologies, into different services even, or sometimes changing careers. It's definitely helped. AI can help with those mundane tasks, processing, the typical admin, data capturing, that type of thing. You can speed it up so much quicker. But yes, it does have the elements of, people being scared that they're going to be displaced from their jobs. And I think how to counteract that, a lot of organizations are starting to look at how do you upskill or reskill your workforce. And, from our perspective, we've embraced AI technology. We've put it into a lot of our processes within the recruitment. We utilize it for our clients and all of that, and it definitely made an impact. And what we've seen with our employees is that they're embracing it and they're looking at other opportunities because it frees up their time to do other things that are more important within the process. So it's finding that balance, I think, of, where does it make sense to use it? How will it improve your operations? How will it improve your efficiencies? And then looking at, okay, so now that you've improved it, what can we do? And how can we make it better? And that's really where we've come from as well. And that's what we've seen with a lot of the companies.
Well, do you think companies in South Africa are ready? Are they embracing it?
I don't know if we are ready, but we have to be ready. It's something that's coming. It's coming into the world. It's not going to go away. It's there. It's being utilized. It definitely is part of our lives. If we think about the younger workforce coming into the work world as well, a lot of them have been using this type of technology and digital age most of their lives. So, if you want to attract that talent, for the next generation, your company needs to be ready to take that on, and you need to give them those opportunities. And I think that's where learning and development and growth opportunities is important from an organization perspective. Being able to reskill or upskill your individuals and giving them that opportunity to learn different technologies and the AI is important. Yes, you've got one certain skill that you learned and you studied for and you did all of that, but you can improve continuously, and it's that continuous learning mindset that individuals need to have. So we have to be ready for it, and we have to embrace it.
Well, do you think some people will resist it because they will say, why am I going to do that? It's going to take my job.
I think you do have an element. I mean, individuals, people as individuals don't like change. It's just the way we are. A lot of people say, yes, I'm open to change. I'm good at change. But actually, both within us as people, we don't like change. So it is a change. And it's about how you take your employees down that journey, how you help them to understand it, how you help them to show that it improves their ability to perform their duties. And it's baby steps, I think, as well. You don't want to just automate everything. You've got to be careful as well of how you integrate those automation tools and the AI into your processes, because there is other risks around it as well. Things like data privacy, things like within South Africa, the POPI Act, and how that impacts things as well. And cyber attacks, because then you're exposing your organization to, different, the internet, the world of internet networks and that type of thing, which again gives different opportunities from a reskilling and upskilling. How will you upskilling your individuals in understanding the importance of your data and data privacy and things like that as well? So there's other elements of the AI automation that comes into it as well.
Well, we looked at these university students in the Northern Hemisphere going back, and ChatGPT, the traffic on it has increased substantially. So I've been wondering, as journalists, we obviously test these models all the time and to see, can they write a CV and can they write an intro? And a lot of people say it's quite nice, but it really hypes it. And it's kind of like an American way that it does it. It really, shouting to the rooftops. What do you find in your industry? Are people using that to write their CVs?
ChatGPT has definitely changed a lot of the way that things done. But really, and I think that's a message when we communicate with a lot of our candidates, when we're screening them and that type of thing, is that it takes away a bit of the creativity as well. Introducing yourself from a bio is about you, and it's how we understand you as an individual, not just about your skills. And I think that's important. Yes, it's about skills, but we also need to understand who the person is. And when you start using tools like ChatGPT, you take away that human creativity around it. It also exaggerates things. It does exaggerate things. But yes, anybody can be a writer at the moment. Anybody can, very quickly put out a CV, a resume, and all of that. But I think they need to embrace it and use it more as a template, a guide to help them on how to do it, rather than taking it word for word, because that can be dangerous. Especially when we're screening candidates and things like that. It is easier to pick those things up when that happens. And that's also, from an AI automation perspective, the human touch, the human element will never go away. And I think that's a fear from people. You don't always want to just chat to a chatbot. You don't want to chat to, just have an automated message all the time, all of those things. You want to talk to a person. So it's having that human touch, that human element. So when you're looking at your writing, how you're putting things together in terms of your CV, when you're applying for a job, that cover letter, all of those kind of things, it's important to bring your personal touch to it. And that's what our advice to our candidates is, use it as a guideline, but don't use it word for word, if I can put it that way. And remember, what goes into ChatGPT as well, it's there. It's there it's being trained. So it's there. People forget your data privacy is now also excluded because you now are putting it out there. So you've got to consider that as well.
Well, definitely don't add your name.
Definitely not. Exactly. Yes.
Are there concerns about AI writing tools in your industry?
When I say concerned, it's more around utilizing it in the most ethical and effective way. I think that's the most important thing. With any technology, embracing it and using it to make your ability to do your tasks and ability to do your roles and everything well is a good thing. But it's about how do you use it ethically? How do you use it in the right way? And that's important. And making sure that you are protecting yourself from a data privacy perspective, from a cyber attack perspective, all of those kind of things. But in the same breath, also making sure that, you're not ignoring it because it's not going to go away. You need to find ways to work with it.
Is the recruitment industry worried it's coming for their jobs?
So, there's so many tools out there at the moment that do AI matching from a screening perspective, which is wonderful. And especially when you're doing bulk AI, not bulk AI, when you're doing bulk screening of candidates, when you've got volumes of candidates, being able to automate certain questions when you're screening, being able to automate certain matching skills and things like that, it definitely does make a difference. And it makes you more efficient. It's a time saver more than anything else. So you can very quickly screen those candidates, get the resumes out to the client, But it's important to have those conversations with the client. That screening process and that talking to people is always important. So one of the things we've introduced as well is, have that initial discussion with the candidate, understand who they are. You lose out, although you have AI matching, your job skills to your resume and what the requirements are to your resume, you might miss out on that gem of a candidate or their talent because you haven't spoken to the individual and maybe they didn't put their CV together correctly, but actually they are a very good potential candidate. So we really make sure that we try and make sure that they understand the importance of that.
Well, I've seen chats on the web about people who say that they get screened out because of these bots, especially if there's thousands of candidates. And then there are these so-called tricks to make sure you don't get screened out. And how do you make sure that you just said that you don't miss that gem if there are thousands of candidates?
The recruitment industry has always been under the firing line for things like that around, people not getting back to them, they get out-screened. Even before AI, it was always a topic that's come out, and it is an element, and we need to be conscious of it as well. But again, it comes down to when you're setting up that automated questions, when you're setting up that screening process, you need to constantly review what you're doing. So review how you have set it up, review how the automated questions are, to understand that you are not out screening people that you really want. And then, yes, you will have the individuals who know how to circumvent it. But when you start talking into them and having those conversations, you'll very quickly pick up that they circumvented the whole thing, and that's how they came about. So again, it comes back to the human touch. And I think for individuals understanding that, yes, AI is there, automation is there, technology is there, embrace it, but don't ever think that the human element will be taken away. That is such an important piece of it. And we definitely within our organization embrace that, as we need to have conversations. It's not even about the typical interview, if I could put it that way. It's about a conversation. Who are you? What have you done? What are your skills? What are your aspirations? What have you worked on? And once you start understanding that individual, that's how you find that great talent.
So what about somebody who says, this is all good and well, you're talking about companies and upskilling, and it's always on people who are already in jobs. I do not have a job. How do I upskill myself to be ready for this wave that it's come?
There's a lot of learning and training organizations within South Africa that do offer short courses, learnership, internship, try and assist in upskilling the individuals and doing that. We know within South Africa, with our higher unemployment rate, being able to provide those learnership opportunities and those intern opportunities is important. So really, from our side, we would encourage people to look at those learning opportunities, apply to those learnerships and those internships, and embrace the ability to learn and upskill and in some instances also reskill yourself into something different. There's a lot of companies that do offer those internships, throughout the whole year, and really do that. There's also a lot of online courses that you can take as well to upskill yourself as well on that. There's quite a few academies that offer really affordable sort of learning opportunities and courses that you can join, and you can upskill yourself through that. And when we talk to our candidates when they're unemployed, it's one of the things that we encourage them to do while you're looking for employment. Use the opportunity to upskill yourself. Join different online courses. Look at different opportunities within a learning environment. If you just look at YouTube as well, there's so much learning on there that you can do. But also be careful of what you look at as well, because it can be incorrect. So that balance of that as well.
Yeah, go for something credible.
Yes.
That's very fantastic.
Let's say the credible and understanding that that's what it is there as well.
And if I can go back to that World Economic Forum, and they listed some jobs that might be at risk. They talk about 23% of global jobs will change in the next 5 years. What kind of jobs in South Africa are endangered by this great wave of artificial intelligence?
Look at any sort of role where there's very similar, mundane, processing type of tasks, those are the ones that will be impacted the most, because there's a lot of automation that can be done with that, with those jobs. Data capturing, for example, you can very easily automate the data capturing process, capture the data into it. In fact, we use robotics process automation within our organization to do some of those mundane tasks as well. So it does make a difference there. If you look at some finance roles as well, there's a lot of different tools available that do some of that sort of mundane, also again, processing tasks, like, capturing your invoices, creditors, debtors, that type of thing. But it all comes down to a lot of it being your processing type of element. And candidates and employees need to understand that is coming, and it's how you embrace it. Because if you're able to take away your capturing, for example, of data, I'll use the recruitment industry as an example. If you can take away capturing a CV manually in a specific format to send to a client, that gives you more time to go look for that top talent. So how do you utilize those tools to help you to be more productive?
It was also interesting. I looked at the jobs that are not in danger. Can we look a little bit at that? It seems to be education is good, career counselors, clergy, paralegals, legal assistants, home health aides. So there are jobs that are very much in demand. So would you suggest to people go for those jobs, and what would they be in South Africa?
In South Africa, I think we found that we've got a really big demand on IT skills, technology skills, your developers, your DevOps, those type of things. And that leads in very well with what's happening with the AI automation and things like that. Some of the ones that you mentioned, like legal and things like that, that's human element. It's how you interact with humans and having those discussions and things like that. A lot of the roles that people, need to look at, even from a finance perspective, there's always a need for those chartered accountants, for, the financial thinking behind it, that you need to really look at and look at ways of how do you get into those kind of roles as well. We do in South Africa, however, have a scarcity of skills, as we know. We're always looking for that top talent within IT, within finance, within engineering. That's another item as well. Those are the types of roles that really are scarce in South Africa, and younger generation coming in looking at that type of thing as well.
So what would your advice be to younger people? Go and look for these kind of careers. Don't have your mind set on a career and then you actually find you might be replaced in a couple of years.
It's a difficult question, kind of answer in a way, purely because, individuals have got career aspirations. They've got, things that they would like to do. Like everybody when they're growing up, I want to do this, I want to be that, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a vet, I want to be an accountant. You've got those kind of things. And it's difficult to say move away from those dreams, but look at those roles and look at what is out there at the moment that is automating, that's got some AI into it. What is the future looking? Do your research around that, and then complement what you are studying and what you are doing with that. And that makes you more marketable out in the market when you do that. Because if you can understand how you can bring AI and automation into your role and make it more productive, you make yourself a lot more marketable, and clients want that. And I think when you look at your hiring companies and the companies looking at talent, they're looking for those individuals that have interchangeable skills that they can also reskill and upskill into different roles and into different opportunities within the organization. And I'm sure there's future jobs that we haven't even thought about that are going to come down the line as well. For example, we never thought about before using robotics process automation, for example, that you would have somebody behind that programming and training that RPA to do the mundane task. So that same person who did the data capturing, for example, could be that person who's programming that RPA to do the task. So it's just how you rethink it from a different perspective.
Well, we never thought there would be influencers.
Influencers, that's another one as well. I mean, influencers and how that's taken over the world and how that's done as well. It's really an important. I think even from your side, from a journalist perspective, you've got access to so many different tools now as well, which help in making you more productive and more efficient as well.
It does. I see it as my junior assistant.
Virtual assistant, that's another one that's coming up a lot.
Well, the way it writes is definitely junior assistant. It's still, but it's learning. That's the problem. It's learning every day.
It learns every day, and soon it's going to be a senior assistant for you.
That's what I'm worried about. Because I say editors are on that list. On that list of the World Economic Forum that they say might be in danger. So that's quite an interesting one.
Yeah, but even if you think about that as well, Linda, I mean, this type of conversation that I'm having with you, that can't happen from an AI perspective. Yeah. This is important. And that's where it comes down to, is finding that balance between having the human interaction, having those conversations, and having that creativity, because this is where the creativity comes from as well. When you talk to people, that automation is not going to take that away.
The other thing I'm kind of thinking is, so first of all, there's going to be these skills in kind of tech people, AI, but soft skills are actually more important because that's the one thing machines can't do.
Absolutely. And definitely we've started looking at a lot more requirements coming through from companies about looking at the softer skills. Things like communication becomes really, really important. Often we find between tech teams and the business owners, being able to communicate with them and understanding their requirements is important. So they've got the technical expertise, but they've got the need and whatever, and trying to understand. So communication is definitely something. Problem-solving skills, from a soft skills perspective, is very important. The ability to analyze, the issue, the what's in front of you, and being able to problem solve that in a critical and non-critical manner as well, to get to the best ability and the best answer. And then AI has brought about the ability to bring so much data points together, and yes, you can train it to analyze the data, but again, it can only be trained so much. You need people who are able to analyze data and look at the predictive analytics, and what does that mean from a strategy perspective? What does that mean from a future perspective? To make those decisions to take your organization forward, and then as individuals from your career taking that forward as well. So those kind of softer skills are definitely coming through. Analytics, communication, and problem solving. We've seen that as more of a soft skills requirement coming through.
South Africa has become quite a good outsourcing place.
Yes.
How would AI affect the outsourcing business?
What we've seen, obviously, in South Africa, you're absolutely right. We've become a destination from a business processing outsourcing. It's cost effective. Our language barriers are less to the rest of the world as well. So it definitely we've seen an uptake in that in the market as well. What we found is, with an AI perspective, there's a lot of chatbots that comes in from if you look at call centers, for example, having that menu coming in to say, how can I help you? And, voice recognition and all of those kind of things has definitely improved the ability to have those discussions with the companies and interactions with the companies. But what we've also seen is that people want to talk to people, So you can go through that menu and you can push 1 for this, push 2 for that. But there's a lot of individuals who don't want to do that, and they want to talk to the individual. They want that personal interaction. So will there be that's still there, and it will happen. But I think, introducing those initial interactions to help speed things up is important, because it does speed it up. So, being able to, if it's a simple question, like a simple thing like, and I use myself as an example, resetting a password, for example, I can use an automated app that just helps me to reset my password. I don't necessarily need to speak to somebody for that.
Of course.
But, other instances, I do want to speak to somebody.
Thank you, Anne Rutledge. So nice speaking to you.
Thank you very much. It's been awesome to speak to you too.